Imagine walking into your boss's office and giving notice because your writing has become your primary revenue stream. Or your podcast is successful enough that you can quit your day job. Or maybe having your marketing on autopilot so you can spend your time on the art career you love rather than on marketing. Are you a creative person who's great at what you do, but marketing makes you freeze? You're not alone. I help passionate, purpose-driven creatives overcome fear, find their brand voice, and build a marketing strategy that works for them. Oh yeah, I also make it easy and painless. It's never too late to grow the business you've been dreaming about. Book an introductory call with me, Rob Southgate, at southgatesmallbusiness.com today. And let's take the pain out of marketing together. One of my favorite events from last year is happening again, and you don't want to miss it. Books and Brews 2 will be held on Saturday, August 2nd, 2025, at the Wyndham Hotel in Noblesville, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis. You can meet over 60 horror authors, all in one place. You can buy books on site, or you can bring what you already have and you can get them signed while you meet the authors. Books and Brews 2 is brought to you by the incredible horror book Facebook group, Books of Horror. Get your tickets today by clicking the link in the show notes. You don't need to be afraid. It's just horror authors. Welcome to Ink Blots, the show where I interview authors about their lives, writing, and the books they love. Be sure to follow the Ink Blots podcast on Substack. Not only can you listen to the latest episodes, but our Substack also has interview transcriptions and links to books and other items that we talk about on the show. If you like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. It really helps us and our sponsors out. Oh, and leave comments. We really do read and respond to every one. Now, let's get on with the show. Welcome to Ink Blots. I'm Rob Southgate. Today I have an author from Books and Brews 2. I have Robert Essig, who is, you're a Splatterpunk author, right, Robert?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. We can go with Splatterpunk.
Yeah, I mean, you do horror, but everything I've read, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of Splatterpunky.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? That sounds awesome to me. So we're going to have a great conversation. Before we really jump into this thing, you've already heard his voice. We'll get the lowdown from Robert in a second. Don't get confused. There's two Robs here right now. August 1st at the Wyndham Hotel in Noblesville, Indiana. That's where Books and Brews 2 is happening. The links will be in the show notes. Get your tickets. Go to this thing. You get to meet all these amazing authors. Support indie horror. Throw that hashtag on everything, too. And you can buy Robert's books and you can meet him in person. And I already know you're going to love him. Robert, all that business is out of the way. Let's talk.
All right.
So why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you ended up here?
Well, I've been a lifelong horror fan, so, it only makes sense that I would have been involved in horror in one way or the other. I thought I wanted to be a horror movie director at one time, but I used to live in San Diego, actually. I live in East Tennessee now. So I live on the West Coast, and, it was never going to happen. I wasn't going to move up to Los Angeles and play that game or anything. I had a massive love for reading since I was in junior high school. I didn't have that love as early as some people did, unfortunately, but eventually that's where I decided to put my creativity. And of course, being that I'd been such a massive fan of horror movies and things growing up, what I write is spooky, scary stuff, Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to touch on a lot of things you just said there. What was that moment, though? What was there like a transformative moment? You read a book and you went like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Oh, absolutely. It happened in junior high school. Because like I said, that's when I started reading. Had to read books for book reports and things, and I never was into it. I'd even try and read like movie novelizations of, I remember trying to read, I think it was Batman 2, the Tim Burton Batman 2.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it, It was, we had to read The Lottery, the short story by Shirley Jackson, The Lottery. We read it in class, and it blew my mind. It absolutely opened up something in there that was just, I'd never read anything that made me feel the way that story made me feel. how I could visualize it. And of course, how the ending, having at the time no reference of what the story was about, I just couldn't, I was so shocked that I had to read more. That was it. I had to read. And from there, I think I went to the obvious place. I started reading Stephen King, and then I was reading Lovecraft and Clive Barker and all that kind of stuff. So that was the moment. It was that story.
Shirley Jackson. It was the lottery that got you.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you now I see in your books, I see a lot of short story collections, like Clive Barker, Books of Blood Lit You Up, Stephen King. It was the short stories, or was it like novels, but you keep finding yourself writing short stories?
I started writing short stories. I'm not sure why. I guess it was easier, maybe, at the beginning. As I started writing in high school, and I didn't really take it seriously. It was just something that I enjoyed doing. So I didn't really write a novel length work for years after writing lots of short stories. And it's kind of reversed. Now I write a lot of longer stuff and I'm much less short fiction.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because I was glancing at your books there and I was like, I see a lot of short stories in here. That doesn't mean anything. I saw Joe Hill speak, and he was talking about how, here's his dad writes, novel after novel after novel. And Joe Hill said he didn't know if he ever had a novel in him. He said, I was writing short stories and I was digging it. And he said, I was like laboring over it. Will I ever write a book? And he said, I think it was The Fireman. Like all of a sudden it was like, oh, I got past page 30 and then I got past page 90 and then it just kept going. And he's like, oh, I guess I am a novelist. I think that's really interesting how that goes, because I'm attracted to the short stories, but it might be because it's easier.
And even the longer stuff that I write is more like novellas.
Yeah,
I've very few novels have I ever, and it's nothing like The Fireman or Nosferatu that are like giant tomes. I've never written anything that long. The novella is actually probably nowadays my comfort zone. I love writing a good tight novella.
Very cool. So, do you remember what the first horror story is that you ever wrote?
I don't remember exactly what the first one was. Kind of. What got me to want to write horror, write horror, I should say, was it was an assignment in high school. I think in like 9th grade. It was some class called AVID. It was an acronym. I don't remember what it meant. It was one of those classes, whatever. They put students that they thought had a lot of potential, but who were kind of, not meeting that potential. I'm not sure. Anyway, the assignment was to write about Thanksgiving. And I'm like, Thanksgiving at my house is good food and good fun and all that, but it's not that exciting. And so the teacher said, no, you can write fiction. And I'm like, oh, I got this idea. Let's write this sort of mystery story where, there's a kid who, his mom announces we're going to have something different for Thanksgiving dinner. And he puts the pieces together that, it's possibly like his uncle who's going to be served to the family. So I wrote the story, and I wrote the whole thing just, it was probably just a couple pages in class that day, through the hour of the class. And I barely got it done. After Thanksgiving break, the teacher came in. I always came in early to read. I always read, and half the time I just read a book. I didn't pay attention. And she slapped it down on the desk and she's like, you got to finish this. No. Okay. And I look and I'd ended it with one of those like cliffhanger things where it builds up to this, feast. And then when his mother's pulling the cloche off of the dish, it's the most insane. I did the Lovecraft. It's the most mind-blowingly intense thing he ever saw. Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But to me, it was already finished. And I said, oh, you were supposed to fill that in with your mind. What was under the, cloche. But she was very complimentary about the story. And she said, I had my husband read it and all this stuff. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to start writing stories. And so that's kind of, to be honest, I don't remember what the question was that got me there, but that was what got me writing stories. So that was the first story. That was what you're asking.
I think you got it, man. So your writing process, like there, you were forced to in class. Once you started gripping this, has your writing process evolved from maybe your first book until now? Is there a change to how you do things?
Absolutely. I've tried multiple different ways to write a book in particular. From taking notes. I used to be a pantser, meaning I would just get an idea and go for it, just type away, get stuck, stare at the computer for a while, thinking about where it should go, just take notes on the characters and stuff like that. And I didn't feel like that was really working for me. So I tried a couple of different methods. I wrote one book entirely without looking at the word count, without taking one note, and without going back to read anything except for to reference character names and things. Wrote the whole thing. It was kind of a mess when I went back to it. And it was long too. It was like 90,000 words, longest thing I ever wrote.
Wow.
And what ended up happening is, eventually I had a child, and, you have a work life, family life, and to fit in writing with all that, you have to make the time for it. So I realized that for me, the best thing was to wake up early in the morning before everyone else is awake, and I could get myself an hour every day to write, but I couldn't sit and stare at the computer. I had to actually write. And so that meant I needed to know what I'm going to write. And I began loosely outlining just bullet points for each chapter. This is what should happen in this chapter. And I would only outline a couple chapters ahead, because then it still gives me that feeling of not really knowing where the story's going. It can go in different directions, so it's still a little bit spontaneous.
Right. So it's not plotted all the way to the end, but you're looking ahead. Exactly.
But then I know what I'm writing, so I could just sit on the keyboard in the morning and write. And that's the way I've been writing for several years now.
Ah, very cool. Your characters, do they ever change the course of your plot? Do they ever talk to you and move things in a different direction?
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, which is always interesting when you're going in one direction, or you anticipate things happening a certain way, and sometimes it just kind of goes off, in its own direction. And, I'll take the ride. I'll go with it,
Do you this is a weird one, but I hear this from authors all the time. Some actually say that they hear their characters, like their characters talk to them. Once they hit that zone, the characters will say, like, nope, I don't do that. Nope, I don't say that. Or they'll just start saying dialogue, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm following this. Do you get that?
That I can say I don't get.
You don't get it. Okay.
That's interesting. I've never felt the character talking to me. I'll look out for it though. But that's interesting. I've not. That's kind of fascinating. I kind of wish they would. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. I think it depends on your process and how your brain works. Like
it probably is. Yeah.
I know when I was writing scripts, I would always tell my wife it's like the third eye. I'd be writing, and then all of a sudden, blank out. Like I didn't know. Like I'm in my own world, and I didn't have them talking to me, but they were dictating what was going on. Like I'd be like, oh, I guess we're going down the street now and having a fight. I didn't know. That's not what I planned. So I never got the talking either, but I've had people say they like hear the voices. They're telling them this is what's up. And it's like, wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
So off the top of your head, we're going to go with a fluffier question now. Off the top of your head, give me your top 3 horror authors right now.
Top 3 horror authors.
Right now. I want the ones that right now you'll spit out, because I know how it is. A half hour from now, you're going to give me 3 different ones. You're going to be like, oh, I didn't say.
Very true.
Give me the 3 that are going to pop out of your mouth right now.
All right. So we'll go Douglas Clegg, Tamara Thorne, and the third one. I'm not, and I'll tell you why I struggle to come up with a third one real quick.
Okay.
It's because you can't really see behind me, but to my right and to my left, I have thousands of vintage paperbacks. So I read a mix of vintage fiction, just 80s, 70s, and a mix of modern stuff. But I read a constant mix of authors. I don't read many authors. I read authors over and over again. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I read a lot of different authors. I'm just, with all these books, there's so much interesting stuff. So certain authors like Douglas Clegg, I absolutely love Douglas Clegg. I've read a ton of his books. And Tamara Thorne, I think I've read 4 of her books now, and I'm working my way. I just finished one, so she's top of mind because it's just such great writing. So that's why those 2 are top of mind. I mean, I even can look around and go, well, there's all these different authors. So come up with a third one is kind of difficult.
You know what? I'll let you off the hook. I mean, it's a tough question. It's one of those like bullcrap questions that people ask, but it's like, it's good. I always find new authors because of questions like that.
Yeah. And, it's like in the past, I read a ton of Stephen King, like I'd mentioned earlier. And I've read more Stephen King than probably most other authors. I think I've read about 55 or 60 of his books.
Wow.
But I haven't read one in quite a while, so it's like he's not a current author I really read anymore, but at one time that would have been number one. Oh, Stephen King,
Yeah, right. And I think a lot of people say that when they get on here, but then they go, oh, it's kind of bad. It's like, yeah, but
hey, if it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I read, what's the name of the one? The one that has Children of the Corn in it. And that was it. Yeah, Night Shift. That was it. I read that, and then it was Stephen King for a long time, and it made my brain go crazy. So I get it, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that was the first book I read after reading that Shirley Jackson story.
Oh, and Shirley Jackson is just amazing, because we had to read that one in class, and I remember sitting there saying, "This is a horror book," and the class like, "No, it's not." It's like, come on, man, this is horror. This right here is what horror is, which is one of the things I love about the genre. Now, do you find that the horror genre can learn from other genres or shares DNA with other genres?
Absolutely. I mean, you think of a particularly mystery and thriller, though mystery and thriller and horror can
very
be so similar.
Yeah.
I've heard some thriller authors who used to be more horror authors say that they're kind of writing the same story, except for it's not as graphic, and not supernatural.
Yeah.
And I've written some books. I've written one called Secret Basements that to me is very much a mystery thriller, just as much as it is a horror. My most recent book, Traveling Movie Show, I've been pitching it as it's a horror that, it meets the crossroads of mystery and thriller. Those ones, they go together really well. I mean, science fiction, though. There's, what's Frankenstein? That's science fiction and horror all wrapped up into a bundle in one story, really.
Absolutely. So I was going to ask you about one of my questions that I had. Like I said, I shoot from the hip on a lot of this, but I do have some questions that I'm like, I want to make sure I ask. I was going to ask you about the Traveling Movie Show and have you give me the pitch, which you just did. I don't want to pitch now. Can you give me a little description? This is your latest book. Don't spoil anything. Let's chum the water a little bit more than the little pitch.
All right. The Traveling Movie Show is about a young group of filmmakers who make their debut horror film. And to get buzz for the film, they get this idea that they're going to take it on the road to the last drive-in theaters in the Midwest and the South. Only what happens at the very first showing is a murder. As they go to the next showing and the showings after that, more and more weird things happen, and they wonder, is there someone following us? Is it someone that's in our own camp? What's going on? And it starts to create all kinds of tension and get more and more twisted and insane until it,
comes to a climax.
Comes to a climax that so far early readers have not seen coming, which is, what I'm going for, of course.
That's awesome. Have readers ever interpreted one of your stories in a way that was shocking to you? You didn't expect?
A little bit, or just, something. But my last book, Disco Rice, was a lot to do with one of the deeper themes in it was mental illness. And it was kind of on the nose with that theme. It wasn't hidden or anything. And I have had readers say that that book was a very good, they got this whole addiction thing out of it, which was unintentional, but
there you go. Interesting.
Wow, that really was there. It was a layer that I didn't really see, but I do write about addiction in a lot of my fiction. So it makes sense that it came out of me subconsciously. And that was the one that's always I found interesting, because I was really, to me, just examining mental health.
Yeah. And people interpreted it as addiction. What about baby fights? Did they interpret that as actual babies fighting?
Well, baby fights is actual babies fighting.
I know.
That one's on the nose. I don't know if
you named it the right thing. You've got the right graphic on it. You open that book, you know what you're getting, and you know what? I am all in on baby fights.
Yeah, that one's just such a crazy concept that should not work at all. And my favorite thing is I've had so many reviews go, I don't know why, but it actually works. Because there's an explanation for why everything happens. It's just not some wackadoodle thing. That was the hardest part for me. How do I make this idea actually work, where it's not going to seem like, okay, Robert, come on. There's no way that people are going to have these underground baby fight rings, you know?
I absolutely love that. I always think there's and people who listen to this show have probably heard me say something like this, but I always find a close correlation between comedy and horror. Because really what you're trying on both of them is to get a reaction, some type of visceral, a laugh, a boo, a spark. And when you get comedy and horror mixed right, like baby fights, whether it's intentionally funny, that is a funny concept. That to me is like, that's 4 stars right there. Now, you said you wanted to be a filmmaker. I think that deserves a movie right there.
That'd be like nothing you've ever seen before, I guess. It might be like something Trauma would put out. I don't know.
There you go. So you originally wanted to be a filmmaker. You said that. And it was specifically horror, or was it just filmmaker in general?
Oh, it was specifically horror. Yeah.
So specifically horror. Okay. How do I ask this? I should ask a writer on how to ask this one. When you're talking horror and film, do you find that you like more indie horror? Do you like Shudder originals, or is it like, yeah, I like the Hollywood horror version of things? Give me a Friday the 13th every time.
It's definitely not give me a Friday the 13th every time. And this might sound like such a cop-out answer, but I want something that's really good. So like one of the movies, I'm a big fan of older horror movies, what I grew up with. It's one of those things, I guess it's like our musical tastes. A lot of times most of us, we kind of get, I don't want to say stuck in the music of our time, but it probably resonates with us more. And horror movies might be the same way. One of the movies that is more recent that I just blew me away was the movie Platform. Did you see?
Oh, what a great movie.
I loved Platform. It just blew me away. I thought it was so good, such a radically interesting concept. And that's what I'm looking for. Something like that. Just this great, different concept. So I don't want the Friday the 13th. I don't want another one. I don't want a sequel. I don't want a remake. I don't want any of that. I want the Platform, but something like that, something akin to that, just a creative story.
So you a lot of the stuff you're talking about is like 80s and 90s horror. What are your favorites from back then?
Back then, I mean, I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a favorite of mine from that time. Going a little further, I mean, my favorite movie of all time is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I like stuff like The Hills Have Eyes, the gritty grindhouse type of horror films.
Yeah,
Basket Case. I mean, there's tons of great stuff.
I love how you're going all over the board with these, which is how I am as well. What about X? Did you see X?
Yes.
It's a newer one. It's an A24
Yeah,
film.
But Pearl was the prequel to X, right? That came out after.
Pearl was the prequel.
I saw Pearl and X. I didn't see the third one yet, but I did see Pearl. I like Pearl actually a lot. X I thought was pretty good, but I thought Pearl was better.
See, I saw X right when it came
out. And I saw
out.
them out of order. I saw Pearl first, so that might have
affected. That's the problem. If you saw X was shocking because it was. I was like, this is in the Texas Chainsaw universe without stealing from it. It just felt like, oh, they actually made a movie that fits perfectly in that world.
A modern day grindhouse film.
A modern day grindhouse, but even more, it felt like they're going to pull down that street to get away, and there's the family. Like, to me, that's what I was like, are they going to actually do something like that? And then Pearl is like amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I really like Pearl a lot.
Yeah, the third one is not the same. I really liked it. Maxine is not it. It makes a great trilogy, but I don't know if you're going to like it as much.
It might be why I haven't. I don't base what I watch on what you hear chirped about on social media. I try hard not to, at least. Yeah. But looking at the trilogy, I get the feeling I might not like that. It just didn't seem like my kind of movie necessarily. I'm sure I'll see it someday.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm finding my daughter's a horror writer, and she's been getting into a lot of these horror movies. I'm finding that we're going back and watching stuff that I missed, and I've seen everything, and I'm like, oh, I guess I haven't. I've missed certain chunks of these.
There's always gaps, right? And sometimes it's shocking. I love finding an old movie that I missed that's good. I recently, watched Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker.
Yeah,
Something I missed that one, and I was like, this is a pretty damn good horror movie. I loved it. That's the kind of stuff I love. Like, how did I miss this?
Yeah, me too. And even going way back, like you find these really old ones and you go, nobody's ever talked about this, and this is an exceptional horror movie or an exceptional whatever movie.
Oh, there was, I don't know the title, but it's more well known than I thought. There's that Russian horror movie from the late 60s that has to do with I guess witchcraft.
Wait, which one is this?
It has a name of like 2 or 3 letters, like Z or something. I can't even remember. It was so weird, so good, and for its time being like 1968 or something, it had some really creative special effects. It was really good.
All right, I just typed it in Russian horror witches. Oh, is it Vi? VIY?
Yes.
Russia's first horror film, and you said it's
really good,
huh?
It's really good. It's really creative. It's really interesting. And the effects in it, I mean, you're like, that's pretty good stuff for that time. You could tell they got really creative with how they made things happen. It's really cool. That was a good one.
Yeah, I'm going to search that one out. That sounds awesome to me. Do you think, because you and I both like horror, I like all sorts of stuff. I'm sure you do too. But do you think that horror, this is another BS question, but do you think it's good for us? Do you think that it's good for people to absorb horror?
It's good for me. I know that. For people that enjoy it, it's certainly good for us. I've heard people say it's like a safe way of, a safe way to I don't know, almost experience unusual things without actually having to do that. I don't know if I feel that way. That's kind of a weird, maybe take on it. But is it good? I mean, it may be. That's a tough question. I don't think it's bad.
Okay.
I don't necessarily. For some people, it might be. I don't know. That is actually a tricky one. When I was in high school, I was in this class called Film as Literature. It was an elective. And half the course was about film, half the course about literature. The film side of things, every Friday, 3 students would be able to play a clip from a movie. So naturally, I chose a clip from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It had to be approved by our parents. They had to watch this clip. So I chose a clip in the movie where there's a lot of suspense that's building up and a lot of unique camera angles and things that's showing the farm house and, all the cars under the tarps. And it's leading up to the point where one of the characters knocks on the door or something, and Leatherface opens it, hits him over the head with a mallet, and his body's.
Oh, I know exactly this scene.
It's leading up to it, and I actually I thought I was going to have control of the remote, and I was going to stop it right when the mallet hits him in the head, because I thought for drama reason, dramatic reason, stop it right there. Well, the teacher just let it go, and I said, "Okay, you can stop it." He just let it go. Guy gets dragged in or into the. No, it might have been when the woman gets hung on the hook. I can't remember, but he let it go. And I was like, this is too far. You don't need, I'm thinking to myself, he's doing it. He's letting it happen. And the class was they were just standing there staring when it was done. I mean, it shocked the hell out of everyone in there. And I'm thinking, I've seen every horror movie at this point, but man, I'm looking around going, a lot of these students, they've never seen anything like that before. They were blown away. That was the last weekend we ever got to bring movies in the class. I ruined it for everybody.
You ruined it for everybody. The next week it was going to be Sound of Music. I mean,
probably.
Yeah. Oh, I know exactly what scene that is. That's a terrifying scene. Actually, that is one of those that is imprinted on the brain. Okay, now let's get specific. What must a story have to deliver truly effective horror?
I think it has to have atmosphere. I think it has to have good characters. You have to care about the characters, to build an atmosphere, tension. I think those elements are certainly the gore isn't the horror, that stuff isn't frightening. I think it's leading up to that, when you care about the characters, they're in getting into a situation, the atmosphere is just, you're drowning in it. I think those are the elements, that that really bring the horror home. You know, you could do spooky things, but if you don't have atmosphere and you don't give a damn about the characters, the spooky stuff isn't going to matter. The boogeyman doesn't mean shit if there's, you don't care for the characters and you don't build a good atmosphere and tension, that kind of stuff. At least that's what I think. Yeah, and that's what I enjoy about horror. And that works with, if it's quiet horror, if it's splatterpunk. I mean, if it's extreme horror, I feel like you damn well better have those things if you want the hardcore stuff that you're going to show to mean anything and not just come off as empty.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I had a conversation with, I can't remember who. They were talking about just this, how they need to have empathy with the characters. And you talk about movies like Rambo, 1 million people are getting killed. I mean, that's a horror show in and of itself, but nobody cares. Doesn't matter. It's all these people got killed on screen. But if you get 5 people that you care about put in a dangerous situation, it's so much scarier. It's so much more intense.
Yeah.
You know? Is there a fear of yours that keeps showing up in your writing, even when you don't intend on it being there?
Ooh, that's a good one. Not that I've seen, consciously or subconsciously. There probably is. I don't really see insanity or losing your mind coming into it much, but that certainly would be, because that's something that freaks me out quite a bit. But I think about H.P. Lovecraft. It's like everyone went insane at the end of those stories. And I think I've consciously been like, people just can't be going insane left and right, but maybe I do have some stories that are more, maybe a little drawn out on that theme. That might be one, but addiction and alcoholism come into play in my stories a lot. And that probably, in fact, alcoholism is definitely something that is a recurring theme that would be one of those meaningful sort of struggles, those things. That's definitely one for me.
Yeah. I mean, once again, we talk about Stephen King. He's got his struggles. And as you read him, you'll see, this keeps popping up, even if he's not really intending. All of a sudden, it'll be something that is there. So it's always an interesting thing to catch. Was there ever anything that you were writing that you found so disturbing that you had to step away from the keyboard?
I don't think so. I lean into it. I lean into it. I really don't. I mean, off the top of my head, there isn't. But to me, the best thing, I intended, I was starting a book, a novel. I never finished it. I only wrote, so much. Got stuck. Didn't know where it was going. But it had a scene that was so emotional that made me cry, and I still to this day wish I could figure something out, because I would love to know if it would have that effect on readers, and that was just, I was like, oh man, I love being able to write something like that it made me feel that way. Maybe it'll make other people feel that way. Cause it's such a, to have that kind of a strong reaction, I thought was great.
Yeah.
That's totally opposite of what you're saying. It's not, but
no, it's not though. I was
in a way,
for that type of thing. I mean, something that impacts you. Horror, it's easy to say something that scared you, but it's something that you're writing that impacts you in a way that you like have to absorb it,
And yeah. And in that case, that when I haven't read this piece in years, because I don't know where the hell it would go. It's still in my head though, someday maybe. And reading up to that point, this is that tearjerker scene. It's gonna get me. I know it, but it's a good feeling. It's like, man, it does. Gosh, I really would like someone to read this.
All right, I've got only a couple more questions for us. This has been fantastic, Robert. I've had so much fun talking to you. I'm going to say it in a weird way. What's the creepiest thing, doesn't have to be creepy, that you've had to Google for a book that you hope never ends up in court?
Oh, gosh. I'm always laughing at some of the crap I have to Google. I mean, when you have books like Baby Fights, you can, and I'm careful too. I think about it and go, should I really, certain things, I don't want to look that up. Gosh, specifically, I can't think of anything.
Nothing that you want out there, because it will end up in court, right?
And I'm sure for Disco Rice, there was, because that had a lot to do with, rotting corpses and maggots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I probably looked up a lot of things that had to do with how a body decays and things, which, that isn't the worst thing you can look up. I'm telling you though, if there's something that does seem really, especially like, oh, this is going to look bad, I don't know. I'll find a way to sort of look it up without actually putting that command into the keyboard, man.
Go to the library and look it up on their dime.
There you go.
So you're on the East Coast. You were on the West Coast. Have you ever been to Indiana, to the Midwest?
No, not yet. Indiana, I haven't been anywhere, but I've been to basically if you cut the country in the middle, I've been to all the lower south and west, southwest, that whole area. But no, I've never been to Indiana.
Oh, interesting. So is there anything that you're looking forward to either doing or eating or seeing while you're there?
Well, doing these events, I'll probably be mostly locked into the things going on, because there will be things going on. Definitely Friday and Saturday. I think there might even, be a little get together on Thursday. So I'll probably be kind of so locked into that stuff. Now, my wife and son are coming with. I guarantee you they're going to be out there doing something. I don't know yet what they're interested in doing, but I'm just looking forward to the event. And I know how these things go, because I've done another event called Scares That Care in Virginia. Yeah. And I think one Sunday I went out and looked at some of the historical stuff out there. But it's my wife and son, they get to go out and do that stuff. And I'm kind of tethered to the convention.
Okay. How old's your son?
He's 16.
Okay. He's a little older than this, but he might enjoy it. I'll tell you why. There's a children's museum in Indianapolis that's fabulous. But when they say children's museum, it's not like just little kids. It's super cool. We took my daughter there. My niece, who was probably about 17 at the time, went with us. She was like, this was the greatest museum. So he may or may not be into it.
No, I think he might be interested in something.
When we went there, they had one of the Transformers from the movie there, and it was giant. And I was like, you got to see it up close. It was super cool. It's that kind of place, Yeah. They had Christopher Reeve's costume from Superman was on display. Like, just cool stuff. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
It might be something. Eat up some time one day. So, okay. Where can people engage with you? What's the best place? And we will put this in the show notes. If you've got 50 social medias, just give us like one or two.
Yeah, I'm most active on Facebook and TikTok. Those are the two places I'm on. Instagram, not as active. Actually, outside of those three, I might have accounts with these other things, but those TikTok and
that's where people can write to you and engage with you some.
Yeah, I have a newsletter on Substack, and so I'm kind of active over on Substack, but that's about it. I try and keep it simple. Who can manage all these different social media platforms,
Yeah, it's tough. I've got a million of them. I'm glad you brought up Substack. This is something I'm going to ask you here live on the show. So I'm just building I have a couple of different Substacks that I do for various projects, but I have a Substack that I just started for the show, Ink Blots, where I'm going to put the episodes up, put the video, the audio, put the transcript, that kind of stuff. And then I want to add a few things. There is a thing on Substack where you can do live, like side-by-side video with other people with Substacks. So when I figure it out, I want to invite you to be a guest, and we'll just talk about who knows what.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
I think that'd be really cool. And since you have one, okay, cool. So you heard it here first. Yeah. Subscribe to my Substack, subscribe to his Substack. We'll put it in the show notes. And I am going to figure out a way that we can do a little live thing. Maybe we'll do a Q&A thing, or who knows?
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. I'm totally down for that.
Awesome. Robert, this was great. Thank you so much for being on. Best of luck at Books and Brews 2. I will not be there this year, so this is where we meet. But next year, you're going to have to make a plan to come, because I'll be there. At least that's what I'm planning. So,
sounds good.
All right, man.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, and good luck. Buy all of Robert's books. Get them signed. Go up and talk to him about fighting babies, because he is way into that.
Yeah.